I stared at the presentation screen, my pulse quickening as Chloe confidently clicked to the next slide. There it was, my quarterly market analysis, displayed for the entire executive team to see, but with angry red circles highlighting supposed errors in my calculations. As you can clearly observe, Chloe announced, her voice dripping with professional concern, these projections deviate significantly from standard forecasting models. She gestured to a side-by-side comparison where my data visualizations appeared wildly different from textbook examples. The boardroom felt suffocating as 12 pairs of senior executives leaned forward in their chairs. I remained completely still, my face carefully blank despite the knife twisting in my chest. 3 months of meticulous work was being systematically dismantled before my eyes. The volatility patterns shown here, she continued, pointing to my custom-designed charts, completely misrepresent actual market conditions. When plotted against traditional indicators, you can see the dramatic inconsistencies. Director Rowland removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. And you are certain about this assessment? Absolutely, Chloe replied without hesitation. I have run the numbers myself using industry-standard methodologies. The discrepancies are substantial and frankly concerning. I watched silently as she flipped to the next slide, a complex visualization I had created after weeks of research and late nights. Most troubling is this risk assessment model, she said. It employs an unconventional mathematical approach that generates projections completely out of alignment with peer-reviewed financial forecasting principles. The chief executive officer crossed his arms, frowning deeply. I could practically see my promotion chances evaporating with each nod around the table. When applied retroactively to last year's market, Chloe explained, displaying a new comparison slide, this model would have completely missed the February correction. Our clients would have been caught entirely unprepared, potentially losing millions of dollars. Director Rowland shook his head slowly. This is deeply troubling. I have already begun implementing standard methodologies, Chloe assured him with practiced confidence. With immediate intervention, we can still present accurate projections to the Pinnacle Asset Management Group next week. The message could not have been clearer. She should lead the Pinnacle account, our biggest client. The promotion we had both been competing for would be hers. And you are certain these analytical methods are fundamentally incorrect? The chief executive officer asked her directly. Without question, she replied. They violate basic principles of financial forecasting. After enduring 60 excruciating minutes of watching my professional reputation being methodically destroyed, Director Rowland finally turned to me. Do you have anything to say in response? Every head in the room swiveled toward me. Throughout the entire presentation, I had not uttered a single sound. My heart pounded as I carefully considered my next words. Just one question, I said calmly, meeting Chloe's eyes directly. Can you explain why the client specifically requested this exact visualization approach in their initial brief? My name is Julian, and until that moment, I had spent 4 years building a reputation as a brilliant but quiet analyst at Vertex Financial. I was not the type to dominate meetings or promote myself aggressively. Instead, I let my work speak for itself, focusing on innovative approaches to data that consistently delivered superior results for our clients. I grew up as the middle child in a household where speaking up meant being interrupted by louder voices. So, I learned early to observe, analyze, and wait for the perfect moment to make my point. This patience had served me well in my career, allowing me to see patterns others missed, while my louder colleagues rushed to judgment. When I joined Vertex Financial after completing my master's degree, I was determined to succeed on merit alone. For years, I had watched my mother, a talented programmer, get passed over for promotions because she was not assertive enough in a male-dominated technology company. I promised myself I would not let that happen to me. At Vertex Financial, I slowly built my reputation by taking on challenging accounts others avoided and turning them into successes. My analytical approach was not conventional. I developed my own models that spotted market trends weeks before standard indicators. My clients appreciated the edge this gave them, even if some of my colleagues questioned my methods. Chloe joined the company 2 years after me. From day one, she was everything I was not: outspoken, politically savvy, and determined to climb the corporate ladder at any cost. Where I spent evenings perfecting analyses, she spent them networking with executives at industry events. Where I focused on client results, she focused on visibility. We were opposites in every way, yet strangely, we developed an uneasy friendship over shared lunches and late nights at the office. I admired her confidence, and she seemed impressed by my technical abilities. When she asked about my methods, I would share my thinking, believing we were supporting each other as colleagues in a competitive field. I wanted to believe we were allies. Then came the Pinnacle Asset Management account. The largest asset management firm in the region had selected Vertex Financial to handle their quarterly forecasting, a prestigious assignment worth millions of dollars in fees. Director Rowland announced that whoever led this account successfully would be promoted to senior analyst with a substantial salary increase and team leadership responsibilities. I wanted that promotion desperately, not just for the money, though that would finally let me pay off my student loans. It represented validation, proof that quiet competence could triumph over self-promotion. When Rowland assigned both Chloe and me to the initial client meeting, I knew we were being evaluated head-to-head. Pinnacle's representatives were unlike typical clients. Their head of research, Dr. Albright, spent an hour discussing cutting-edge forecasting methodologies. He explained that traditional models had failed to predict several recent market shifts that cost them dearly. "We are looking for fresh approaches," Dr. Albright had said. "Our internal research suggests nonlinear volatility patterns contain predictive signals that conventional models miss entirely." I felt a thrill of recognition. This was exactly what my personal research had focused on for years. When I shared some preliminary thoughts, Dr. Albright leaned forward with genuine interest. Chloe, meanwhile, looked increasingly uncomfortable as the conversation ventured beyond standard financial theory. After the meeting, Rowland pulled me aside. "Pinnacle was impressed with your ideas. They want you to lead the analysis phase." Chloe's smile tightened when she heard the news, but she congratulated me warmly. "I will handle client communications while you focus on the numbers," she offered. "We will make a great team." For 3 months, I poured everything into developing custom visualization tools that could capture the patterns Pinnacle wanted to track. I tested my models against historical data, refining them until they successfully predicted 84% of significant market movements from the previous year, far exceeding the 61% accuracy of traditional approaches. When Chloe asked about my progress, I shared everything openly. She seemed fascinated, asking detailed questions about my methodology. I explained each innovation proudly, believing she was helping bridge communications with the client while I focused on the technical work. What I did not know was that she had stopped sharing my updates with Pinnacle weeks ago. Instead, she had been meeting privately with Director Rowland, expressing concerns about my unconventional approach. She carefully built a case that I was veering dangerously off course from accepted financial practices. The presentation ambush had been her masterstroke, positioning herself as the responsible professional saving the company from my reckless methods. And it had worked perfectly, until my single question changed everything. The boardroom remained silent after I asked Chloe to explain why Pinnacle had specifically requested my visualization approach. Her confident expression faltered momentarily. "I am not aware of any such request," she replied. Recovering quickly, "The client expected industry-standard analysis." I reached into my bag and retrieved a bound document, sliding it across the table toward the chief executive officer. "This is Pinnacle's initial project brief. Page 17 outlines their requirements for nonlinear volatility tracking, exactly the methodology I implemented and that you just spent an hour criticizing." The chief executive officer opened the document, scanning the pages with increasing interest. "Pinnacle's quantitative team has been researching these patterns for 2 years," I continued, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "What looks like analytical errors to someone using traditional models are actually pattern recognition innovations they specifically requested." Director Rowland reached for the document. "Is this accurate?" "Pinnacle's chief strategist can confirm everything," I replied. "I have been in weekly strategy meetings with their team throughout this project. I assumed everyone at leadership level was aware of their specialized requirements. Chloe started to speak, but the chief executive officer raised his hand to silence Chloe. Her usually composed face betrayed the first flickers of panic. You've just spent an hour explaining how you have fixed analytical methods that Pinnacle specifically commissioned, I said, looking directly at Chloe. I am curious. Have you informed them that you have replaced their proprietary approach with standard models they explicitly rejected? The tension in the room was palpable. Director Rowland flipped through the brief, his expression darkening with each page. There must be some misunderstanding, Chloe attempted, her voice slightly higher than normal. These methods are untested. No serious investment firm would use them. Page 12. I interrupted calmly, pointing to the document. It shows Pinnacle's back-testing results, comparing traditional models with their experimental approach. Standard forecasting caught 61% of significant market movements. Their method identified 84% and provided earlier warning signals. The chief executive officer looked up sharply. Is this accurate? Dr. Albright can verify everything, I said, mentioning Pinnacle's head of research. I have documented all our discussions about their methodology requirements. Director Rowland closed the brief, his face unreadable. I think we need to pause here and verify some information. Chloe, Julian, thank you both for your input. The executive team will need to discuss this privately. As we filed out of the boardroom, Chloe gripped my arm, pulling me into an empty conference room. Her carefully constructed poise had vanished entirely. What is your game? She hissed. You made me look like a fool in there. I gently removed her hand from my arm. I simply clarified the client's actual requirements. We both know Pinnacle would never approve those bizarre models. You were just trying to save face. I studied her for a moment, wondering how I had missed the depth of her duplicity. Dr. Albright personally requested that approach. You were in the initial meeting when he explained why. That is not how I remember it, she said, smoothing her expression back to professional concern, and it will not be how Director Rowland remembers it either. We have discussed your creative interpretations extensively. A chill ran through me as I realized how thoroughly she had worked to undermine me. For weeks, she had been laying groundwork, positioning herself as the voice of reason while painting me as dangerously unorthodox. You should prepare yourself, she added with artificial sympathy. Even if they do not fire you outright, your reputation here is finished. No one trusts an analyst who cannot follow basic financial principles. She left me standing alone, her confident stride suggesting she still believed victory was inevitable, and perhaps she was right to be confident. In a straight battle between her political connections and my technical work, history suggested I would lose. That evening, I sat on my apartment balcony watching the city lights flicker on as twilight deepened. My phone buzzed with a message from Director Rowland. Meeting tomorrow, 9 in the morning with Pinnacle representatives present. No further explanation. I barely slept that night, replaying every interaction with Chloe over the past months. How many times had she asked detailed questions about my methodology, only to use that information against me? How many private meetings had she arranged with leadership while I worked late, perfecting analyses? The betrayal cut deeper because I genuinely believed we were supporting each other as women in a competitive field. But that was my mistake. The next morning, I arrived early to find the conference room already filling with executives. Director Rowland nodded tersely as I entered. Chloe arrived moments later, impeccably dressed and seemingly untroubled. She took a seat across from me, avoiding eye contact. At precisely 9, Dr. Albright from Pinnacle entered with 2 colleagues. The atmosphere immediately tensed. Thank you all for convening on short notice, Director Rowland began. We have a situation that requires immediate clarification regarding the Pinnacle quarterly forecasting project. Dr. Albright has agreed to provide his perspective. Dr. Albright placed his tablet on the table, his expression serious. I was disturbed to receive standard market projections yesterday from Chloe, particularly after the promising custom analytics Julian had been developing for us. Chloe's head snapped up. I believe the alternative approach needed revision to meet industry standards. Industry standards are precisely what we hired Vertex Financial to move beyond, Dr. Albright interrupted. As I made explicitly clear in our initial brief and subsequent communications, traditional forecasting models have consistently failed to identify the market anomalies most critical to our investment strategy. Director Rowland leaned forward. Dr. Albright, to be absolutely clear, you specifically requested the nonlinear volatility modeling approach that Julian implemented? Not only requested it, we insisted on it as a condition for awarding Vertex Financial this contract, he confirmed. Julian's methodology aligns perfectly with our research directives. When Chloe sent standard projections yesterday, claiming they represented the official analysis, I was concerned there had been a serious miscommunication. The room fell silent. Chloe's face had gone completely pale. There seems to have been a significant internal communication failure, the chief executive officer said carefully. Rest assured, Pinnacle will receive the custom analytics they commissioned, delivered by Julian, who developed them. After the meeting dispersed, Director Rowland asked me to remain behind. Chloe attempted to stay as well, but he dismissed her with a curt comment that they would speak later. When we were alone, he sighed heavily. This situation is unprecedented, Julian. Had Pinnacle gone with the standard analysis Chloe proposed, we would have lost our largest client. I nodded, saying nothing. I owe you an apology. I should have verified the client requirements directly instead of accepting secondhand information. He paused, studying me. Why did you not speak up sooner about Chloe's interference? I did not know she was interfering, I admitted. I thought we were collaborating. She had access to all my work while claiming to handle client communications. He grimaced. A carefully orchestrated deception. What happens now? I asked. The senior analyst position will be yours, effective immediately, he said. As for Chloe, human resources will be having discussions with her about her future at Vertex Financial. I walked back to my desk with a mixture of relief and deep fatigue. It should have felt like victory. The promotion was mine, my methods vindicated, my chief rival exposed. Yet, as I returned to my desk, I felt hollow. The trust I had placed in a colleague, someone I had considered a friend, had been weaponized against me. Throughout the day, colleagues stopped by my desk, with congratulations tinged with curiosity. The story had spread rapidly through office channels. Chloe remained conspicuously absent, having left the building immediately after the meeting. At 5, as I was preparing to leave, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. This is not over. You got lucky today. I stared at the message, a knot forming in my stomach. The tension I had been carrying all day crystallized into something sharper. This was not just professional rivalry, it was personal now. The following days brought an uneasy transition. I moved into my new office and began building my team for the Pinnacle account. Chloe had not been fired, merely reassigned to internal analytics, where client contact was minimal. Each time we passed in hallways, her eyes followed me with undisguised resentment. 2 weeks after my promotion, strange things began happening. Small at first, files missing from my desktop, meeting invitations that disappeared from my calendar. Then more significant, a crucial email to Pinnacle contained calculation errors I knew I had not made. A presentation deck was altered overnight with slides rearranged and key data points changed. I began staying later, triple-checking everything before sending it. I kept backup copies of all files on my personal drive. The constant vigilance was exhausting but necessary. You look terrible, my colleague Nora remarked over coffee. Is everything okay with the new position? I hesitated, then admitted, someone is sabotaging my work. Small things, but enough to undermine me if I do not catch them. Nora raised an eyebrow. Chloe? I cannot prove it, I said, but who else would have both the motivation and the technical knowledge? Be careful, Nora warned. She is still close with Director Rowland's assistant, and she has been having lunch with several board members recently. This news sent a chill through me. While I had been focused on delivering results, Chloe had been networking, spinning narratives, laying groundwork again. That afternoon, I discovered my access to certain data systems had been mysteriously revoked. When I contacted Information Technology, they claimed to have received authorization from leadership to modify my permissions. It took hours to resolve, forcing me to miss a deadline for Dr. Albright. When I finally delivered the analysis late that evening, he was understanding but concerned. Is everything all right at Vertex Financial? This is the second delay this week. Just some internal system issues, I assured him, unwilling to air company problems to a client. I see, he replied, not entirely convinced. Just so you are aware, we have received an interesting proposal from another firm claiming they can implement our methodology more efficiently. Normally, I would not mention it, but given these recent hiccups, my blood ran cold. Another firm? May I ask which one? Spectra Analytics, he said. Apparently, they have just hired a specialist in nonlinear volatility modeling who is familiar with our approach. I maintained my professional composure through the end of the call, but inside, panic bloomed. Spectra Analytics was our main competitor, and this specialist could only be one person. That night, I searched online and found it immediately. A press release announcing Chloe's hiring at Spectra Analytics as their new director of strategic forecasting. The position was several levels above what she had held at Vertex Financial. How had she managed this? Then it hit me. She had not just been studying my methods to sabotage me internally, she had been learning them to sell herself as an expert to our competitor, positioning herself to steal Pinnacle's account. The next morning, I requested an urgent meeting with Director Rowland and our legal team. I explained my suspicions, showing them evidence of the systematic interference with my work and the Spectra Analytics announcement. This is troubling, the legal director acknowledged, but difficult to prove as deliberate sabotage rather than system glitches. As for her new position, unless we can demonstrate she is sharing proprietary information, she is marketing herself as an expert in the exact methodology you developed. I insisted, methodology she publicly criticized as incorrect just weeks ago. Director Rowland looked unconvinced. People change their professional opinions all the time. I realized with sinking certainty that I was losing this battle. Without irrefutable proof, it would be my word against Chloe's, and she had always been better at office politics. I had to find a way to expose her actions on a larger stage, where she could not hide behind corporate connections. I had to prove that she was using my work, and the only way to do that was to let her present it publicly. That evening, I received an invitation to attend an industry conference, where Chloe would be giving a keynote presentation titled Innovations in Nonlinear Volatility Forecasting. My methodology, presented as her expertise. I sat motionless at my desk, fury and helplessness washing over me in alternating waves. Everything I had worked for was being systematically dismantled by someone willing to cross lines I would not. In the battle between quiet competence and ruthless ambition, the latter was winning. But as I stared at the conference invitation, something shifted inside me. I had played by the rules while Chloe broke them repeatedly. I had trusted the system to recognize merit while she manipulated perceptions. I had been honest while she lied without hesitation. Perhaps it was time to change tactics. I opened my laptop and began typing, a plan forming that would require me to operate as Chloe did, strategically, politically, and without mercy. For once, I would fight not just with better data, but with better strategy. The industry conference was scheduled for 3 weeks away, giving me limited time to prepare. As I examined the event details, I discovered Chloe would be presenting to senior executives from major investment firms, including Pinnacle. Her session description promised to reveal groundbreaking approaches to market volatility forecasting that sounded eerily familiar. The audacity was breathtaking. She had not just stolen my methods, she was positioning herself to poach our largest client by presenting my work as her own innovation. If she succeeded, my career at Vertex Financial would be effectively over. Regardless of my title, I needed to act, but confronting her directly would only lead to denials and counter-accusations. I needed irrefutable evidence of what she was doing. I contacted Brooke, the event coordinator, whom I had worked with before. I am presenting at a different session, I explained, but I am having technical concerns about the projection system. Would it be possible to test my presentation in the main hall beforehand? Brooke agreed to give me access the evening before the conference. Meanwhile, I consulted with our legal department to prepare a formal legal response. I drafted a cease and desist notice invoking the Federal Defend Trade Secrets Act under 18 United States Code Section 1836 and federal copyright protections under Title 17, United States Code Section 106 for the unauthorized reproduction and distribution of my proprietary algorithms and visual slides. Armed with the law, I prepared the trap. The evening before the conference, I accessed the presentation console in the main hall. I created a hidden presentation file that would remain dormant in the system, programmed to override the screen when triggered by my tablet. The next morning, Chloe took the stage, her opening remarks smooth and engaging. "Today, I will be sharing a revolutionary approach to volatility forecasting," she began. As she progressed, the similarities to my models were impossible to miss. Dr. Albright was taking detailed notes, looking impressed. Chloe advanced to a slide showing my exact backtesting results. From my seat, I quietly opened my tablet and triggered the override. The screen suddenly displayed a split image. On the left, Chloe's slide. On the right, my original presentation with identical formulas created 3 months earlier, stamped with my name and Vertex Financial's logo. Above both images, the text read, "Original Development Timeline." Chloe froze, clicking desperately to advance, but each slide now displayed her version alongside my original, showing clear timestamps. Gavin, an analyst in the audience, stood up. "These appear to be comparative slides showing original development dates. Is this methodology yours or is it stolen?" Dr. Albright stood up too, his expression grave. "Down to the mathematical notation, this matches what Julian developed for us." I stood up and walked to the front. "There is no technical glitch, Chloe. The slides show documented evidence of how you studied my work, copied my proprietary algorithms, and attempted to sell it as your own." I then served her and the Spectra Analytics representatives with the formal cease and desist notice, warning that any further use of the model would result in immediate federal litigation under 18 United States Code Section 1836. Under the Federal Defend Trade Secrets Act, she was personally liable for the misappropriation of trade secrets, which carried heavy financial penalties and court injunctions. I made sure to print copies of this notice and handed them directly to the Spectra Analytics senior executives who were sitting in the front row. Their faces drained of color as they realized the severe legal risk of presenting stolen intellectual property. The room erupted in murmurs. Dr. Albright announced that Pinnacle would immediately terminate any discussions with Spectra Analytics. 3 days later, Spectra Analytics announced Chloe's departure by mutual agreement to avoid a massive federal trade secrets lawsuit that would destroy their reputation. Director Rowland called me in, offering me the position of Chief Methodology Officer with a substantial salary increase. I smiled. Sometimes the most powerful response to deception is ensuring the truth is protected by the law and visible to everyone who needs to see it.